Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and I'm on the other Mitchell reel that was sent in to me from Jim. This one is the 308A. We just completed, and we'll post shortly the video on the 300A. This is the 308A. Jim asked me to tune it up. It seems like it's working okay. The problem that Jim is having is in the bail. Sometimes it doesn't return all the way, and while it's doing it here, I did notice that this screw is very loose, and if you tighten this screw up, which it should be, that's what you're getting. So he's got a problem here. I believe it's just a bent bail wire. We'll find out. He also did send me a replacement bail for this one. I'm not sure on this bail. The 308A normally has a little kind of an angle coming out of the side of it. This one doesn't, so I don't know if this is an aftermarket replacement or what, but that's the condition he gets there. So we'll deal with this in two steps. The first one is we're going to show you how to tune this up, and then the second one is that we'll go ahead and address that bail situation. So let's get started, and I like to get started simply by removing the handle first, and then we can come over to the second side. Now the second side has got pretty much a coin slot here. I believe you could probably use a dime or a nickel or something. There's an old metal washer from a drag system that fits. There you go. You can use that. If you don't have something like this, then you can use a wide-bladed screwdriver. But it is a round slot, not a flat one underneath there. So if you have something like that, that's perfect. So let's go ahead and take that off. Check the back, and we got some grease on the back. So of course, part of the whole cleaning and servicing part of this is the cleaning. So I'm just going to grab a paper towel off of this and just wipe that down of the old grease. We've talked a number of times about this stuff. You can use the paper towel. You can use cotton swab. You can facilitate the cleanup with something like a penetrating oil if you want to hit it with a light spray of that. Some folks have told me about carburetor cleaning, cleaners, brake fluid cleaners, other things. I generally stay away from those because they are degreasers by nature, where the penetrating oil is an oil. So even though it facilitates and has a mild degreasing function to it, if there's residual that's left over on that, generally speaking, it won't harm the new lubricants, where if you have a residual laying over from a degreaser, on the caution sign it may. Okay, so this is an interesting one. The 308 is a ball bearing reel, and we'll show you where that ball bearing is in a moment. Alright, so continuing with that, then I'm going to take the spool off now. The spool comes off by poking in the center slot and removing. A little bit different look at this one than the 300, right? The 300 has the planetary gears and all. This one has a traditional crosswind block driven off the main gear, but a little bit different. So the first thing we have then is it's a pin that inserts through the axle shaft and actually holds the axle shaft to the main body. It's a crosswind block that it's going through. So pull that pin out. You can see that, and that's going to sit through the holes in the axle shaft. What holes, you ask? Well, let's pull the axle shaft and show you. There's the two holes that it sits in. And then this is the crosswind block. Now, if you open it up and you get a black crosswind block, don't worry, they come in black and white. No big issue there. Okay, and then this is the crosswind block. It rides on the stud of the main gear. And here's the first problem most folks have with the 308. I'm just going to clean this off. This one, as I said, was turning pretty freely. It seemed like it's in pretty good condition, but we were asked to do that. There's no way to get this main gear out without getting this out, which is the pinion gear. And the pinion gear is a ball bearing driven shaft, and a lot of folks' intuition is to pull the rotor. That's not the way to remove this. It is on most reels you would remove this and you can take the rotor out. That doesn't happen here. There's actually a set screw. In this case, it's right over the drive here. You may or may not be able to see it in this lighting, but the set screw is how you remove the whole upper body. So I have a bigger screwdriver that actually fits that slot, but if you don't, you can go to micro screwdrivers. And let's remove that set screw then. And be very careful. You lose this one, you might as well lose the reel. actually use a tweezer to get that out. Kind of in a tight place. So this is your set screw, and where that small part of the set screw is actually runs in the channel of the rotor. And let's remove that. You can see that there's a channel here. That's where that set screw rides. And you can see underneath here the ball bearing that makes this reel very popular. Now, sometimes this ball bearing, if you look at it, it looks like it's missing a ball bearing. That's not the case. My experience is that's just the way they come. And I'm going to use a reel oil, in this case Reel X, to oil that ball bearing. We're just going to set this aside for now, although we do have that bail issue that we will come back to. Okay, so now you don't have the shaft sitting in here any longer. You can remove the main gear. That's a push through. You have a little Phillips head screwdriver or something that you're not going to damage anything with. You can do that. And then underneath that, that's the anti-reverse dog that just came out there. Okay, so I'm going to clean this up just like I cleaned the other piece up. There's a washer underneath here. Let's get that out. And then just let's do the cleaning on that. And you have a spring around that stud. This is the spring for the anti-reverse dog. I'm just going to lay that on here for a moment. I'm going to go put that right back on. Okay, that goes on. The spring goes around it. On the corner here rests behind the dog here, and then to reload the main gear, then you need to put this into a inactive mode for the override. Put a little bit of grease onto the shaft and use your gloved hand to work that in. Clean off the old grease from the front. And we can reinstall. Now, one of the things I noticed when I was looking at this reel is the lack of the planetary gear. So this reel was made after 1983. I believe it's a 1984 edition. That switched over where you no longer have the planetary operation. You just have a straight up and down running off of this main gear now. So if you've opened up a reel and you've seen the planetary gear, this is not that version of the 308. Okay, once we put that, we can go back and reload this. We've already oiled the bearings. Let's put a little bit of grease onto the pinion gear then. And we can insert that from the top. Want to make sure it gets fully seated. And then we can come around to this side and put that set screw in. Always a challenge for me. I'm going to use the tweezers here. If I can find my tweezers, I just had them. Here we go. Get that set screw there. This is always tough because of the way that it's inset, but I think I got it there. And again, this set screw is going to ride in that groove, and that's the only thing that's holding this rotor or head on here. I'm going to go to my mini screwdriver here. And it's always good to have a couple of different tools on your bench here just to get it right. I'm not feeling this going in square. So take your time. It's better to be patient and get it than strip it out. I think we got it now. Yep, another turn or two. I think I can go back to the other screwdriver now. All right, we're set. A nice, nice rotating one. Just doing one more turn on that. Takes the wobble out of the shaft. There you go. All right, that's the way it should be working. And now we can reverse this, and we have our clip going. So that's the way that this this assembly works. Next up then is to reinsert the axle shaft. Now I didn't clean this, so I'm going to use a little bit of steel wool just to get that older grease off of there. You can actually just kind of dip this right into the grease if you like. Again, use the gloved hand as a tool. And we can grab that, grab the oscillating block, a little bit of grease in there so that it rides smoothly. Put it on the shoulder. No problem, because any surplus is going to run to the inside of this reel, which is kind of what you would like. Get one more set of grease onto the pinion gear. And we're looking for the two holes to align to the oscillating block. And you'll be able to see the two holes through the oscillating block there. Use a pin if you need to center it. Come on back and get the set. That's going to be held in by the side case. Give it a spin again to make sure that everything's working the way it should, which it is. You can cover this side up. And go grab that coin-like little drag washer there. And you can use a coin, you can use a screwdriver. I think coins are kind of like, sort of like the way to do it. All right, we'll grab the handle then, reinsert that. Trying to make it so that it works for the camera. There we go, look at this. Nice operating reel. Don't forget, when you're doing this, kind of take this up, reset it so that you can get some oil in there. It's a spring-loaded mechanism. Put a little bit underneath. Just as long as you're doing your maintenance, you might as well do that. Then you can flip it back. Okay, so we're going to go on to we'll take a break for a moment, and we'll go on to work on the bail. I think what I'm going to find here is that the bail is out of round, and a good test for that is to just remove the non-action side plate, if you will. Yeah. So this bail at rest should be in up against here, and there's too much torsion, and that's generally what the cause is. So before we go much further, we'll going to pause the video, and then we're going to come back and we're going to work on this bail, trying to get this more into round. Okay, so I have to apologize. I just went through the exercise of replacing the bail wire. That was the issue of why it was hanging up. And unfortunately, the recording did not come out well. So I just wanted to show you in the completed form that we have the bail working. And I appreciate you watching. Hopefully we'll add this to my to-do list. In the future episodes, we'll come back and show you how to reinstall that bail wire. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.